You've never had a 9 to 5 job. You went to college for a bit, and by the time you were out of school, you were already full-time on your business. It's like, how could I ever just do the generic thing when I know you can just print money from your phone and your laptop? You've been able to spin up this incredibly successful marketing agency. You do ghostwriting for info product companies. Your company, The Birdhouse, you make a lot of money, but you have a very small team. But now Twitter's obviously opened up a lot of professional doors for you. You've never had a 9 to 5 job. Your first job was at a diner, buttering toast and cutting steak and cheeses. And you were in the military and you went to college for a bit. And by the time you were out of school, you were already full-time on your business. What do you think are some of the reasons you were attracted to entrepreneurship? And why do you think that you've been so successful at such a young age?
I've always had a bit of ADHD, not in like the cliche sense where like, everyone says they have it, like to the point where all my closest friends know like I can't even have an iced coffee because I'll drink it in 60 seconds. I can't play video games that don't have ranked play because I get bored that there's no progression. Um, and I'm known I know myself for jumping from business to business for a very long time, and it took me a long time to kind of break that habit. That being said, when I was introduced to day trading, which was my kind of entry into this, and I had watched Shark Tank growing up with my dad a lot, which was my real entry to business. But when I got introduced to day trading while I was in military training, it kind of showed me how fast you could make money and that you could make money from a cell phone. So back then, if you go to my old, they're probably archived, but I used to always post laptop lifestyle, work from anywhere. I was so obsessed with the idea that I can work from anywhere at any time without being told what to do. Um, it was just so appealing to me. It's kind of like that fast life. It used to be really trending. Everyone used to call it jet life. So I used to really be obsessed with this like jet life mentality, and it stuck with me. It's almost like once you drink the Kool Aid, right? You can never unsee it. You can never unsee the lifestyle that's possible. So as soon as I found out what was possible, I could not even think about what I was doing before, which was going to be accounting. I couldn't even think about it anymore. So I feel like I drank the Kool Aid, and then once I found out what was possible, I was just obsessed with the idea of freedom. And freedom is more so just doing what you want when you want from wherever you want.
Yeah, there's things that you just, like you say, you see them and you can't unsee them. I've talked about this on the podcast a million times and on my spaces and stuff, but for me, not from a business standpoint, from personal, it was when I read The Power of Now, and it was this idea that like you're not your thoughts, and then I could never go back to like living in a complete cloud. And I think that sounds like what it was like with you from a business sense. It was just like I see this other way, and it's like how could I ever just do the generic thing when I know you can just print money from your phone and your laptop? And you've been able to spin up this incredibly successful marketing agency. You do ghostwriting for info product companies. And we were talking at lunch the other day, and you told me that you max out your clients at around 7 to 9. That's where you found kind of the sweet spot for you. You've gone higher up to 12 or more and found that it doesn't really work. So I have a two-part question. First, how can people scale from having maybe just 1 or 2 clients up to that 7 to 9 range? And then why did you decide to cap it right there?
I think the biggest bottleneck with, and maybe you could say this for any business, but specifically with my kind of agency, is it's talent. I got very fortunate that I found two very good writers for my team. And I think the reason I'm capping for a significant amount of time, or I've been capped for a significant amount of time, is I'm really trying to figure out the right way to source, hire, train uh, these talented individuals, because I think our ability to find good talent is what's going to allow us to scale the amount of clients we have. And it's very difficult, and I think it's like a learning curve. There's really, I mean, how many courses are out there on hiring and training? Zero. Like, so I think that's been a big bottleneck. And I think for people who are at, the average ghostwriter, and when I was doing everything myself, I think when I got to like 4 or 5 clients, I was losing my mind. It's like all I was doing every day was waking up, writing for my clients, writing for myself, and then taking sales calls, taking client calls all day, every day, like at 4 to 5 clients. So that could happen before. And I think nowadays, even with the kind of quality of content required, I think it's even lower. I think you could get capped at 2 or 3, kind of what you said. Um, but I think it's talent, and I think if you're at 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 clients, the biggest thing you can do is record everything you're doing and create really in-depth processes, and not just what you're doing, but how you're thinking about it. This is something that I learned from my mentors. You have to record and jot down how you're thinking about something, or why you decided to do something a certain way. Why did I decide to write this hook? Why did I decide to put this word here and this word here and this punctuation mark and this space? If you can answer those why questions and those nuances, it's much easier to apply those to another individual. And another thing is fear. It's like when you're at 2 to 3 clients and you just have a fear that no one can do what you're doing. But the reality is you're never the best. There's always going to be someone out there that can do what you're doing just as good, if not better. So again, it comes down to being an effective hirer and an effective trainer.
Okay, so let's go into that a little bit deeper because you say, you're looking to hire more. Right now, your company, the Birdhouse, you make a lot of money, but you have a very small team. Can you go a little deeper and break that down? Like, share more about how your business is structured from an employee standpoint, like who's responsible for what, and then what are some of the optimizations that you've made to keep things flowing smoothly?
So I'll start with the structure. So we have me. I'm kind of CEO. The hats that I wear are really CEO, head of sales, and chief editor. So I kind of wear three hats. Um, the CEO hat is obviously all the decision making and in charge of the team. Um, the head of sales is I do all the sales myself. I source all the sales. I handle all the inbound leads, everything like that. I also manage our client sales teams. Um, and then on top of that is the chief editor. So no content goes out without me seeing it. In a perfect world, I'd say some of our more mature clients who've been around for 10 months plus, the writers who are assigned to those clients can typically operate in a kind of solo manner. But newer clients is usually when I'm heavily editing and paying attention, or if a client is lacking results for a month, I'm really going to get in there and edit and try to see what I can do to improve the results. So those are the three hats I'm wearing. Them below me would be I have two copywriters on my team, Joey and Alex, amazing, amazing people. And then my executive assistant slash head of ops is um, my assistant, and her name's Sonia. So it's really just a team of four right now. And I'm looking to bring on a couple more people in 2024. But that's how we've been structured for a while. And the reason we've been able to keep that team so small is that we have operations and automations that are really effective. We have a full SOP library. We've got automations for onboarding, automations for reporting, automations for team meetings, all of the above. So those are all really important. And it's allowed us to kind of keep it a lean team and maximize revenue. But I think at a certain point, you always get to a certain ceiling for revenue, regardless.
When you start creating all those materials to help them understand the day to day and what you're expecting, is that something that you create? Like, is that an ongoing thing? Do you create them before you hire? Is it when you hire? Is it as they go? You're kind of continually tweaking them. Like, at what point do you start creating that infrastructure for the operations of the company to help everybody be on the same page?
Yeah, so I guess it's different for everybody. I'd say it's more of a revenue number than for us. Is after 6 to 9 months is when I really started looking into like SOPs and trainings. But I think once you have your first team members, when you can start to do it because you have to anticipate bringing on others. Like for me, I was creating a job description this morning for a new role, and it just came down to the fact that it was a need basis. Like I need to hire this person, so I need to create roles and responsibilities. And what that prompted me to do was to go and revise all of the roles and responsibilities of every position. um, in a perfect world, you do it quarterly, is what I've learned from mentors, is doing quarterly audits of SOPs, quarterly audits of roles and responsibilities, time audits, all of that stuff, performance reviews. But I'd say for me in first year of business, or for anyone, it's really scrappy. It's just like you do it when it's a need basis. But now that I'm more of a seasoned business and I'm trying to kind of get into a more structured thing, it's trying to do it quarterly.
Got it. Okay. So you guys are producing a ton of written content for your clients. And what's unique about what you're doing is that you highly optimize for sales, not as much for engagement. So I have another two-part question. One is like, how do you do that? Like, what steps do you take to optimize your writing for sales? And then how do you balance that with good engagement? Because you do need to get some exposure onto the posts, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to balance it, because you need engagement to produce leads, and you need followers to produce authority. So I'd say, the biggest thing is if you treat it, it sounds cliche because I've said it so many times in the past week to myself. It's really spreading the content across the different pillars, like the personal content, trending content, opinionated content, social proof, case studies, video. When you spread it across a spectrum of all the different features that X has to offer, and this is why I love X, and the different styles of content, it brings in the different parts the of the puzzle. So if you put out a piece of personal content, it's going to create some loyal followers. If you put out opinionated content, it's going to get you a ton of engagement. If you put out, or with trending, if you put out some social proof content, it's going to nurture and convert that. Expertise, same deal, right? So each pillar kind of has a different reason. So I think spreading out the types of content does all of those things. And if you're putting out enough content per week, like for us, if we're putting out 30 pieces of content, and there's 5 pillars, I can put 6 of each. So now I can get 1/6 of that week can be for lead gen, 1/6 can be for sales, 1/6 can be for followers, 1/6 can be for engagement. Obviously, it's not that perfect, but that's kind of the mindset that we have. Is if we spread out the content for the different concepts, it allows us to balance it.
Interesting. So are there certain like tactical things that you're doing for sales, or are you just kind of leaning into one of those or two of those different pillars that are more optimized for that?
I'd say, I think our sales process is shaped out to a point where it can take advantage of any of those. It's not really tactical. It's like our goal is to just maximize everything to the best of our ability. Like if we get a ton of followers, and like if we go out in 2 weeks and gain 1,000 followers and a ton of engagement, but we're not getting any sales, we're just going to tone it back. And like, how can we get sales? All right, we're going to go all in on case studies now that we got all those followers. Like it's not really super practical. It's like we're going to go in with a balanced approach and then make adjustments from there based on the individual. Like it's not really copy paste, which is also part of the problem with scalability. Is like there's so much nuance for every client. It's like you really have to create kind of these autonomous positions, these autonomous thinkers in your team, because they have to make adjustments on the fly as well. So that's also part of the problem with scalability.
It's interesting. Kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning is that you're way more like intuition based. And so in the way you approach business, and like a company in a lot of ways is just kind of an expression of the founder or the CEO, and like just a scalability of his own or her own philosophies and the way that they attack business. So for you to, I like that approach a lot for you, where it's less like, hey, here's exactly how we're going to do it for people. And it's like, let's just go in, throw a bunch against the wall, and then we manipulate and adjust, especially probably like on a client by client basis.